How much are they paying you versus surely that's not a free kick? The umpire 100% adamant, the player 100% sure, and the tribunal charged with the task of balancing the probabilities and coming to a verdict. David Zeta has sat through the case tonight. David, welcome.
Hi, Jared. Hi, Gary.
How did it unfold?
Well, both sides, as suspected, both arguing that what their version of events was the correct version of events. So Zak Butters, of course, said that he was 100% certain that he did not say what he is alleged to have said by Nick Foot. Nick Foot himself gave evidence to start the tribunal hearing. He said that he was 100% sure on his side of things, that Zak Butters said to him, "How much are they paying you?" Now, he was asked, did you think this was about a job you also have with Sportsbet? He said, no, I thought this was purely implying that St Kilda were paying me to make decisions that go in St Kilda's favour and against Port Adelaide. So he says he could not be clearer that that is what was happening. He had an earpiece in his right ear, but Zak Butters was to his left. That's why he was sure in what he was saying. Zak Butters was, in his words, a metre from him when he used that term. So Zak Butters, for his sake, said he thought he said, surely that's not a free kick. Of course, you heard there in that piece, he gave an on-field interview where he said that what he said was, how is that a free kick? So the AFL tried to poke holes here and say he's not even sure as to what exactly he said. How can you believe him? But he says he's 100% sure he did not say what he is alleged to have said. Ollie Wines then gave evidence categorically denying that what Nick Foot said was accurate. Ben Rutten, Port Adelaide's head of football, said that Zak Butters came to the bench after having heard he'd been reported, and he was quite distressed, Butters, at the idea that he was reported for that in what he thought was quite an innocuous thing to say. So another really different quirk here in this one. So Renee Embom, the tribunal chair, has another commitment work-wise as well. So there weren't reasons provided tonight. There was a deadline. I think all parties just wanted to get the decision done at least today, and then reasons might have to wait until tomorrow morning. So the decision was that Butters was found guilty. So $1,500 fine has been issued to him for abusive and insulting language towards an umpire. Zak Butters himself commenting afterwards as well, and the Power now weighing up their options as to whether they appeal. But as it stands, they believe Nick Foot's version of events over that of Zak Butters.
The minor fine of $1,500, but so much more at stake than that. So I sat through this case as well. There was no one to corroborate Nick Foot's story, but there was no one to contradict it either. And this is the problem that I've seen routinely with players. There ended up being gentle inconsistencies between Butters and Wines' versions of events. How much did Butters say? As he was sort of led through the cross-examination, he settled on, he said only one thing, and it couldn't have been any other moment than when the 50-metre penalty was paid. Wines thought Butters had said a few things along the way. Butters spoke much more. Wines spoke much more than Butters did throughout. Butters said that he didn't really hear everything that Wines said. Wines said he heard everything that Butters said.
The mics picked up none of it.
The mics picked up none of it, so it was described as the gaping hole in the evidence, which is quite right, but it didn't pick up anything that Wines said as well as nothing that Butters said.
I think that's important to differentiate, because there are conspiracy theorists out there, which is fair enough, and particularly those that sit outside the footy realm. So this is standard behaviour to turn mics up and down.
So there are faders that go up and down without going too far down the rabbit hole. It can be explained. I don't think anybody is helped by the fact that the audio is missing.
No, if it was there, it would have sold us a hell of a lot.
And it would have been a written case. There would have been an email sent back refuting it, and it wouldn't have gone through all of this. If you had to judge, if you had to come to a verdict singularly on the testimony that was offered and the quality of evidence, you would have come down on the side of the umpire. Now, how that serves the overall and whether that's a satisfactory outcome, that's in the mind of well, everyone will have their own view on that. But if you sat through it, the unequivocal testimony of the umpire versus the gentle inconsistency between the players, that was the only way to come to a verdict.
So you said that there was no one to contradict what Nick Foot had to say. Does Ollie Wines not fit into that category? Wasn't he there?
No.
He wasn't strong enough?
It's entirely possible that if Butters muttered something at the end, Wines wouldn't have heard it.
Because the two of them
They were far enough apart. There was differences on who heard with such great clarity. It's very unsatisfactory, to be honest, having sat through it. But if you had to land one way or the other, it was going to land with the more compelling witness.
Well, then the fine's light. If the AFL have come to a conclusion, and whether you agree or disagree with it, then they are saying that it is right that Zak Butters has accused Zak Foot of being paid to pay free kicks deliberately, and therefore $1,500 is light. They should have hit him with what did Daisy Thomas get?
He got 7.5. He used an expletive and cheat.
Yeah, well, that's okay. The expletives are used all day long.
Yeah.
But when you...
Isn't it just a smart aleck remark?
No, of course it is,
It's a bit of a slap over
Of course
the
it is,
wrist.
but when you get... It's this emotional case, and I experienced this today on radio. So, and Kenny Hinckley comes out definitive in his support of Zak, which is fantastic. There would be people come out definitive in support of Nick if you wanted to go looking for them. I'm sure there is. So then you got two blokes who are 100% adamant that they said something. So trying to come out with I don't know how you... Well, maybe it's on the back of the contradiction. I don't know. But if you are saying, no, you said that he's getting paid to give free kicks away, then 1,500 is light. But anyway, that's semantics. Maybe they realised that it was hard to come to an agreement, so give them the 1,500 and get on with that. Excuse me. My advice is you out there believe what you want to believe. Do I think that this has sullied the reputation of Zak Butters? Personally, I don't, because I will choose what I know of Zak as a person personally and what he said. I suspect there might be some misunderstanding out there. I'm not saying that Nick Foot's making stuff up, but I will choose what I choose to believe, and it's not going to affect the way I think about Zak, and I doubt very much whether anyone else is, because, yeah, maybe it does fall on the side of smart aleck, but as I said, tried to explain last night, maybe I didn't do a great job about it. That's not how Nick Foot took it, which is why when Ray Chamberlain gets in here, he'll give you some clarity around
Nick used the phrase, when your integrity is questioned, you don't forget those words that are said to you. So it did land heavily with him. This was Zak Butters a short time ago at the conclusion of the case.
Okay. Zak will make a short statement. Thanks, mate.
Incredibly disappointed with the result tonight. I stand by knowing what I said and what I didn't say, especially what I didn't say. I'd like to thank the club for the support. Yeah, thank you.
Will you appeal?
So why it's so difficult for Zak and anyone who's a supporter of Zak, which, we are, I am anyway, he's now been told you're a liar.
So that's the most unsatisfactory part of having to reach a verdict in these circumstances is that you lean one way or the other, and you have to judge Zak as untruthful to come to that conclusion. And that didn't sit terribly comfortably either.
No, well,
but you have to choose one or the other in the way that the tribunal is set up on the balance of probabilities.
Yeah. So there was no chance for an insufficient...
So I would have been inclined, and so they wouldn't have done this, I would have been inclined to deliver an open verdict.
Right.
There's no way of coming to a satisfactory
Why
outcome
couldn't they have done
here.
that?
I just don't think that's the way the tribunal is set up. And the $1,500, this is the most minor offence that there is. I know there's gravity around it in the way that it's been presented, but on the table of offences, this is as minor as it gets. So the tribunal is asked to use its best judgment and go one way or the other.
So they couldn't, in all conscience, we are not satisfied that
that was not countenanced in any way. But from the outside, I would have been leaning towards that. I've got a footnote here. I don't mean that to be a pun. Nick Foot should remove himself from the sports betting agency that he's associated with. He shouldn't be paid by that agency from here going forth, because he's an important figure in the game. He's already a grand final umpire. He had to answer questions today under cross-examination of whether his integrity and whether that employment was clouding the view around his umpiring, and he conceded that conversation is happening at the moment. That is both unfair on him and something that he's in control of. Step away from that until you're finished as an AFL umpire, because his status in the game is vital. As a grand final umpire.
There'll be people watching, though, that don't understand where he sits in the sports bet landscape. So he has clearly got nothing to do with football gambling, clearly nothing along those... It is absolutely you use it 100% in the horse racing industry. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah, you can't take that check.
No, well...
Not with the integrity that has played out through this, and he's the unfortunate victim of that, but he's in control of that himself. Just step away from it, just remove it as a possibility.
Yeah. There's a lot of checks being taken from betting agencies across the world of football.
There is, but I just don't think an umpire, on his own self-reflection now, should go, no, I'll do that later on.
Yeah, even if it's at the racing
Yeah, and even if it feels desperately unfair, just remove that cloud from yourself. He's in total control of that.
All right. Is there anyone's reputation lost in this?
I don't. That will be judged in the court of public opinion. Won't it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Ray Chamberlain can come in and give us some real context around this because, as I said, no one barracks for the umpires. I get that. I try to give some sort of a balanced perspective today, and no one's in support of umpires. Ray will be here to tell us what it's like.